All right, so today we're diving into a really powerful book by Paul David Tripp called Dangerous Calling. And it's basically a diagnosis of a crisis that happens so often, quietly behind the scenes in leadership until it's just way too late.
I mean, just imagine hearing that. This isn't a hypothetical. This is a real confession from a senior pastor at the absolute height of his ministry. One minute he's preaching to a packed church, and the next, he's just completely broken. So how does a leader get to this point? That's really the mystery we're unpacking here.
We all kind of have this picture in our heads of what a leader is supposed to be, right? They're confident, they're super knowledgeable, a real pillar of the community. They just seem to have it all together. This is that public persona, that carefully crafted image we all see from the outside.
And here's where we get to the real heart of the problem. What happens when that public success is just masking a total private collapse? When the life being preached from the stage is the complete opposite of the one being lived at home? Well, that's when a really dangerous gap starts to open up.
So this first section is all about exploring that gap, that huge chasm between the public persona and the private reality. This is the space where a leader can become a total stranger, even to the people who are supposed to know them best.
The contrast here is just stark. And these aren't just made-up examples. The book is full of these real stories. You've got a theological superstar who's totally lost and confused about who he is, a pastor who preaches grace every Sunday but his own family is terrified of his anger. This isn't just hypocrisy. It's a deep, painful disconnect.
And listen, this isn't about pointing fingers. The author Paul Tripp is just brutally honest about his own blindness. He actually said this to his wife during an argument about his anger. It's such a raw look at just how deep self-deception can run. And his wife's response? She was in the 5%. It just proves that nobody is immune, not even the experts.
Okay, so this brings us to the root cause of the whole problem, what Tripp calls a horizontal identity. So instead of finding your worth vertically in your relationship with God, a leader starts looking for it horizontally, in the size of their church, in the applause from the crowd, in their reputation. But when success becomes your identity, man, you are building your entire life on a really fragile foundation.
And this identity crisis, it doesn't just sit there. No, it starts to grow, and it gives birth to 3 specific dangers that fester in the shadows, basically paving the road straight to a total collapse. So first up, a question that should honestly make anyone who deals with sacred things for a living a little bit uncomfortable. What happens when the magnificent just becomes mundane?
This first danger is a loss of awe. Tripp has this great phrase for it, visual lethargy. The more you see something, the less you truly see it. For a pastor, the Bible can go from being this life-changing encounter to just content for the next sermon. God becomes a subject to study, not a savior to worship. And that passion just fades into a joyless, heavy obligation.
All right, on to the second danger. This is a trap that is so easy for seasoned, experienced leaders to fall into. It's a really subtle, but absolutely critical mistake in how you see yourself.
It's called the pride of arrival. It's this sneaky belief that you've somehow graduated from needing the very same grace you preach to everybody else. You stop seeing yourself as just another patient in the hospital, and you start acting like the head doctor who's perfectly healthy. Your ministry becomes about handing out your expertise, not sharing in a journey of needing help yourself. And that leads us to the third and maybe the most insidious trap of all. Because when you think you've arrived, you stop listening to anyone else.
Self-deception. The book describes how leaders basically activate an inner lawyer to defend themselves against any and all criticism. When a spouse or a friend says, "Hey, I'm concerned about this," that inner lawyer just argues back, "Oh, they just don't really know me." You become your own judge and jury. And, well, sin has a pretty powerful way of blinding the judge to the truth.
So loss of awe, pride of arrival, and self-deception, that is a terrifying path. So if those are the dangers, what's the way out? Well, the book is crystal clear on this. The cure is not found by just trying harder by yourself. It's found in community.
This right here is the book's central solution. The big idea is that we are all blind to our own worst blind spots. We need other people to be our eyes to show us the things that we either cannot or simply will not see in ourselves. Getting a clear, accurate picture of your own heart, it's just not a solo project.
And this isn't just, a good idea or a helpful tip. It's presented as God's essential design for our spiritual health. Community isn't some optional program at church. It is the very instrument God uses to protect us from ourselves.
But we're not talking about just any kind of community. This isn't your book club or a weekly dinner party. Tripp describes it as an intentionally intrusive community. Basically, a group of people that you have given permission to interrupt your life, to ask you the hard questions, and to speak the truth even when it's really uncomfortable. It's a daily project of mutual care.
And that's where we land. You see, this whole explainer, it isn't just about a crisis in ministry. It's really a mirror for all of us. The dangers of looking for identity in our job, of losing our sense of awe, of fooling ourselves, those are universal. And so is the solution. So the final question isn't just for pastors, it's for everyone. It's for you. If seeing yourself clearly is a community project, who have you invited to be in yours?